Welcome to Couch Quarterbacks.
Welcome, guys, to the Couch Quarterbacks Week 4 recap show. I'm Ben Steinberg. With me, as always, is Andrew. And today, y'all, we have a great show laid out for y'all.
Always got a great show laid out.
Always. As we're filming on our Monday night time, we got the Monday night game, which is in a weird delay right now.
Yeah, so they're in a delay playing at SoFi Stadium, which is a dome. The only thing that we can really think of, Stein...
How much money? $2 billion into this thing? And it can't protect against lightning?
The only thing that we can think of is if, with it being a transparent, having the glass roof on top, maybe they're like, oh, the lightning will get through the glass or whatever, so...
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I guess they're trying to take precautions. They don't know how this building, will react.
Mean, weather in Los Angeles, they're probably
isn't there droughts in Los Angeles, and forest fires?
I feel like there's always droughts and forest fires and stuff like that. So
I guess if anything, they need this storm, and, they could use to wipe away the filth.
It's probably like whenever... It's probably like whenever they get hurricanes in the Midwest or something like that. They're like don't really know what to do in those situations. I don't think hurricanes end
up in the Midwest.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is
I don't even think that's like a good comparison. Like I guess the Northeast.
Okay, yeah, Northeast when they rarely
and like Boston
rarely get
or
like
York.
when we get snow down here in the South.
Yeah,
that's
a good comparison.
All right, take two on that one. So
all right, well let's get into it. We're gonna start off with our game recaps, and then I think we're gonna move on and give our not off-season awards.
Our almost quarter-season awards.
I guess, this weird,
our 4/17ths of the way through the season.
Of the season, awards. So we got some funny things to talk about. But without further ado, let's just jump right into it, just feet first. And I actually was at this game, my first game of the season for the Falcons' first NFL game of 2021.
I mean, you were treated with a good game. Maybe not good in the sense of the Falcons coming out on top, but still overall just like
It was a high-scoring affair, and I also went with my sister, so we had a great time. Few beers, some really good food, nice people. The Washington football team fans were cool, too.
I feel like they would have like a nicer fan base compared to maybe someone like the Eagles or something like that.
Yeah, and having Antonio Gibson on a fantasy team, we were all talking about it and... but let's talk about the game. Washington was able to come up on top. I say that because this game was almost like neither team really wanted to win. Washington won 34-30. Falcons, really, the story is they blow a lead, but is it really a lead at this point? Is it really is that really a story at this point, or more just like...
I guess it's more of you almost say it, and you're not surprised by it anymore.
It's an 8-point lead, but still the fact that they had the ball after Washington wasn't able to get that 2-point conversion and wasn't able to, hold control of it.
I think that's definitely the worst part about it. Didn't bleed enough clock. Yeah, so that's what they get the touchdown, need the 2-point conversion to tie, don't get it, so it's a 30-28 ball game.
Well, funny thing was, with that 2-point conversion, because I left right after it, because I wanted to get on Marty. I'm not one of those fans. But, no, basically what happened was they got it, they didn't get it, but then there was a penalty on Dante Fowler.
So they had a second try,
and they didn't get the second try. Mm-hmm. So it was like, this is like newfound territory for Falcons.
That's what I was watching Red Zone on the way home. Like I literally had it pulled up on my phone, like in the car watching it, and that's when when they got the second attempt at it, I was like, okay, well they're definitely gonna get it. Like it's the Falcons, of course they'll get it. Like then they'll force overtime, whatever. So they get the stop. Falcons get the ball back, end up giving the ball back to the Washington football team, and then on just like a busted, broken play, like Taylor Heineke rolling out to the left side, then throws it back over to the right side. J.D. McKissick is like all alone. He breaks Debo on the outside and then just like dives into the end zone with like 2 defenders hitting him as he's crossing the goal line.
Debo and Aluakin were all over the place, making a bunch of tackles. I'll give kind of my good parts for the Falcons and bad parts, and the good parts are going to start with Cordell Patterson. Easily the best Falcon of this of the 2020s.
Stein, I still every single week, I'm like, okay, well, this is just an outlier. Like he'll go back to normal the following week, and every single week he just does better somehow. And I still cannot comprehend how Cordell Patterson is the best offensive skill player on the Falcons right now.
A guy who's about 30-something years old.
I would say just in terms of putting up touchdowns and putting up stats, it makes no sense to me how he is doing so well. He had 5 catches, 82 yards, 3 touchdowns receiving, and then he was also the Falcons' leading rusher, 6 carries for 34 yards since Mike Davis was bottled up pretty much all game.
Yeah.
And I looked into it, Stein. This is a pretty interesting stat. So he's got 5 touchdowns this season through the first 4 Falcons games. The most touchdowns he ever had in a season, 7 touchdowns in a full season, 16 games, his rookie year back in 2013 with the Vikings. So this is touchdown numbers that he's not used to putting up in really any statistical season for him. So this is something very unprecedented for him, but I guess as a Falcons fan, you got to be happy to find that diamond in the rough.
Guy's a Swiss Army knife, playing every single position. Fantasy-wise, I'm sure he's going to be a lot of people's flex option.
I didn't even try picking him up because I was like, okay, this will be like a one-time thing. Like Mike Davis will get all the rush work again. Like Ridley, Pitts, like all those guys will come around receiving wise. So
you can tell they're really using him in the offense. I mean, maybe when Russell Gage comes back, it might take a little bit away from him, so I'd be weary on that.
But even in the first couple weeks when Gage was healthy, he wasn't that involved in the offense, especially as much as some people thought that he would be.
But, just awesome to see him, and he's a guy who, when he first got drafted, he was playing in those old Vikings uniforms, so that's how, old you can tell he was.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And he was a former first-round draft pick, too.
Yeah. So, gotta love Cordero. A couple other good things. Matt was pretty efficient. Good numbers.
Definitely his best game of the season.
Yeah, 4 TDs, no turnovers for him, and only sacked once. Offensive line had a few penalties in the beginning. Jalen Mayfield actually had 2 costly ones. Kind of ruined some momentum in the beginning, but only being sacked once is pretty good. And then there was that really weird roughing the passer play.
Yeah, I heard about that with Chase Young, that they got the roughing.
It was the weirdest play I've ever seen because Matt had all day, rolls out, and you're like, oh God, what is he doing? Rolls out, and then Chase Young hits him, but Matt throws it as he's taking a knee, and then it just was weird.
Yeah, these roughing the passer penalties has definitely been a topic of conversation through the first couple games of the NFL. It just seems like there's so many more roughing the passer calls, so many more just flags in general being thrown at the start of the season.
So what else was good for the Falcons? I'll say the offensive line was better, and then Mike Davis had a nice run and catch where he scored a touchdown.
Yeah, the touchdown was pretty much the one bright spot for his
for his performance.
Stat line.
Everything else was mediocre to bad, and what was really bad for the Falcons, which I think lost in this game, was the drop passes, which really destroyed these drives. And Calvin Ridley had a bunch. I think Kyle Pitts had 2, and then Zacchaeus had 1 deep in the end zone. So those really killed all the momentum. And the defense just had to go back out there, and they were gassed. And letting up that one halftime,
the second half kickoff
return for a touchdown also kind of destroyed any kind of, because we had all the momentum going into the half. So.
Oh yeah, if you get a kickoff return for a touchdown to start off the half or start off a game, momentum definitely shifts into your direction. So, and
we're definitely getting more analysis on this game because I was there, and I'm sure Roach and I will go to a game, together, and another Falcons game, and we'll have more analysis.
And we usually have more analysis on the Falcons anyway, just with us being in Atlanta and all that. So.
Yeah, and then let's talk about Washington. Heineke was great. Just only 10 incompletions, 290 yards, 3 touchdowns, 43 rush yards. He had a few scrambles where he was. Everything broke down, went right up the middle, and slid.
That's why I think Heineke in his couple starts has really shown that he can shine against some bad defenses. Because, we know the Falcons. They're a bottom dweller in terms of the defense.
Bottom third of the league.
In the National Football League. But against some of these better teams, that against Buffalo last week, then it's definitely not as good of a stat line for Heineke. So in terms of fantasy, you're definitely going to want to pick him up and maybe stream him for these games where they're playing weaker competition.
And we want to see Heineke do good. He's a Collins Hill kid. Played football here in Georgia his entire life. Probably grew up a Falcons fan.
Yeah.
So it was nice to see him do well. And just unfortunately, it's for an opposing team. But, Washington is not, the worst team to lose to.
Exactly.
It's not the Eagles. It's not the Cowboys. It's not, it's not the Patriots or something like that. Washington defense, though.
Yeah, we thought this might be a get-right game for them because they've had a tough stretch these first couple games this season, but definitely not the case.
Yeah.
For the
only a single sack, in this game.
Yeah, the sack numbers have been down. They've been giving up a lot of points per game.
Yeah, and that Cordero Patterson play where he was just wide open as I've ever seen somebody.
Yeah, Matt Ryan actually underthrew him, but he was still able to be open and catch that touchdown. But So definitely looking for this Washington football team defense to kind of turn it around. Offensively, Terry McLaurin also had a really good game. 6 catches, 123 yards, 2 touchdowns. So.
Yeah, Scary Terry was pretty scary. He had a few breaks that he was just... He was high pointing some balls and looking good, looking like a legit.
Yeah, especially that second touchdown where it's like the jump ball 50-50 ball.
Yeah, that was right. I guess
that was more like
window.
bad defense than more good offense.
Yeah. Isaiah Oliver did go out for the Falcons, so they were using that one guy, not Williams. I forgot his name. Green, yeah, TJ Green, and he's been exposed.
Yeah, some injuries on the Washington football team side as well. Logan Thomas left in the first quarter with a hamstring injury.
Yeah, I got that update.
Yeah, he's considered week to week, and then they also lost Brandon Scherf, one of their best offensive linemen, to an MCL sprain, going to be out 2 to 3 weeks. So.
Yeah. Bottom line from this game, 2 bad teams, I would say. Washington not as good as we thought. Clash. Falcons did some right things that they can build on, but Washington did more right things at the end of the day.
Yeah, and the Falcons just, once again, like, it's almost expected, like, if they have the lead late.
It's going to be fun next week, because that's a good segue into our next game as the winless Jets triumph.
Winless no more.
Triumph over the heavily favored Titans in arguably the biggest upset of the season so far.
Yeah, Stein, I think this is our fault for kind of overestimating, I guess you would say, the Titans in terms of them not having Julio Jones, not having A.J. Brown, and we still expected them to probably win this game by at least a touchdown or 2.
Yeah, I forgot what the line on this was, but we expected them to cover.
Yeah, and then not only that, but kind of underestimating the Jets and really exposing how bad this Titans defense is. Zach Wilson definitely having his best game as a NFL player so far this season.
Yeah, and credit to Robert Saleh getting that first win. Good to see him. He's a good guy. I'd never cheer against him. But Zach Wilson, I will cheer against. He did throw an interception. He doesn't escape unscathed. Yeah, probably sacked a few times as well.
I don't know if you saw the interception.
Only sacked once, actually. I didn't.
Yeah, he was only sacked one time. The interception really wasn't his fault either. Corey Davis fell down on his route, so not exactly his fault for the interception. So overall, a pretty clean day for Wilson. The 2 touchdown passes, almost 300 yards passing. Yeah. And he just really was throwing the ball downfield well. He had a long pass to Corey Davis, a long pass to Keelan Cole, I believe, in overtime. So he was able to throw the deep ball really well. And like I said, I think I didn't realize how bad this Titans defense was. Like, I knew it wasn't good. Yeah. Like, it was definitely bottom half in the league, but I didn't realize how bad it was. For this Jets team, came in scoring 20 points in their first 3 ball games.
Yeah, they didn't score a touchdown. They scored their second touchdown in this game of the season to start off, and that just speaks volumes how they were able to give up all this momentum to them. And the Titans might be getting into a little bit of panic mode right now.
Well, the one benefit is that they're in a very weak division with the AFC North, so they're actually still at 2-2, first place in the division, because they've got the Texans and the Colts both have 1 win this season. Colts got their first win of the season, and then you got the winless Jaguars. So they definitely benefit from being in a weak division, but definitely long term is concerning. Yeah, because
if they play like this against the Jets, I don't know what they're going to do against the Bills or the Ravens, or the Chiefs. So just not a good look for them. I mean, Derrick Henry did do his thing.
Yeah, I mean, Derrick Henry still did his thing. Ryan Tannehill had to throw the ball like 50 times. A bunch of no-name guys he was throwing to.
Missing his boys.
Jeremy McNichols was their leading receiver, the backup running back to Derrick Henry. So then you had the likes of Chester Rogers and Westbrook Akeen and all that. So just not a good performance from the Titans passing football, which we expected. And so even with Derrick Henry doing his thing, they're not able to get a victory. Going back to the Jets side, Jamison Crowder was back. 7 catches, 61 yards, and a touchdown. He led the way receiving-wise. Corey Davis, mentioned that long touchdown, finished with 4 catches, 111 yards, and a touchdown. And also, the Titans, Tannehill sacked 7 times. That offensive line, we figured it'd be flipped. You even started to say, like, how many times was Zach Wilson sacked in this ball game? Only sacked 1 time compared to Tannehill sacked 7 times.
Yeah, just getting after poor Tannehill back there. And was Taylor Lewan? Taylor Lewan was he was in it again, right?
He was active, yeah.
Yeah, and that's going back to that game against Arizona where where Chandler Jones was feasting. Mm-hmm. So maybe this offensive line for them is also an issue, even though they are creating these run lanes for Derrick Henry.
Might be more Derrick Henry just being the bulldozer that he is and really creating something out of nothing.
Yeah, but let's not discount this Titans team because they were in it at the end. This game went into overtime, a very long overtime, I should say.
Yep.
Jets get the field goal. Titans march down the field at the get the 49-yarder from Fat Randy and wide
misses.
left.
Yep. Missed field goal. The Titans have had about 5 different kickers so far this season, so kind of the icing on the cake for their special teams work with missing this field goal in overtime, which would have led us to the first tie of the season because there was only 16 seconds left when he was kicking the potential game tying.
Yeah, there was no way anyone could have marched down
unless some sort of miracle by Zach Wilson and hook and ladders and all that, But anyways, the bottom line, I mean, the Titans, this is just going to be a bad loss on your resume so far for the season.
Yeah, if you're going to lose to a team, you don't want to lose to the Jets.
Yeah, I said, I mean, still kind of in the driver's seat just because you're in first place in a bad division, so still definitely time to turn it around. Yeah. And then the Jets, a great game for them, being able to beat a team like the Titans, even without their 2 best receivers. This was a playoff team from last season, so... Yeah,
my biggest takeaway, though, is that this defense is just it's an issue.
Yeah,
for this Titans team.
It's a definite issue. So if they're able to make the playoffs, there's extra wild card team once again this season. Yeah. That's definitely something that's going to need to be fixed if they want to win some playoff games.
And don't think the Jets are good. They're still bad.
Oh, they're still bad, but still a great victory for Zach Wilson, Robert Saleh, and just that whole Jets organization.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the steamroll of the week.
Yeah.
The Texans going up to Buffalo and cold Buffalo, where the Bills just gave them the business, 40-0, giving them the business.
Yeah, once again, we've been talking about the past couple weeks how the week 1 outlier to the Steelers for the Bills is going to be a big outlier.
I think if this Bills team plays the Steelers right now, they would destroy Big Ben.
Yeah,
Big Ben might be dead.
With the 2 different ways that they're going, and just this Bills defense, their second shutout in the last 3 weeks. They shut out the Dolphins a couple weeks ago in this ball game. Mills Mafia, 4 interceptions. Bills defense also had a fumble recovery. They sacked Mills 3 times in this ball game. Their defense overall in the season has been one of the best defenses so far.
Yeah.
And then the offense obviously putting up 40 points. So there was really no standout on the offense. You had Dawson Knox get 2 touchdown catches, but besides that, they're really
Moss and
everyone
Singletary
just did their
both doing
thing.
the same numbers as we've seen. Stephon Diggs, Beasley, those guys doing the same. Emmanuel Sanders getting involved as well. So everyone just kind of contributing, and then Josh Allen, is just making his case for MVP.
That's what I think. I think it's been good to see. I feel like last year the Bills were definitely a lot more one-sided in the terms of they really didn't have a run game. We said going into this season, Josh Allen being one of their leading rushers, that could be an issue for them, and it definitely was during the playoffs last year. And then also him just kind of force-feeding Stephon Diggs pretty much the whole season. Yeah. He's definitely spread the wealth a lot more. Emmanuel Sanders has been a much bigger addition than we expected, a very quality
Knox
addition
has played well in the past 2 weeks.
That's what, he's definitely stepped up and played a lot better. Cole Beasley will have one good game, one bad game, so he's at least somewhat consistent out of the slot. Yeah. And then, like you said, with the 2 running backs, Zach Moss, if he stays healthy, has shown that he's been really good. Then, of course, you still have Devin Singletary, who's more of the pass-catching guy. So, just a very balanced offense.
Singletary does
season.
have, some dropsies every once in a while, but let's not discount the way this defense has also been playing. They just, everyone's getting involved on the defense too.
Fewest points per game this season, allowing 11 per ball game. The fewest pass yards allowed at 150. Fewest total yards, 216. And then the turnover margin, they're at +7, which is tied for first with the Cowboys, and 11 takeaways, which is the best overall in the league. So the defense definitely been the X factor for them to start out this season.
Poor Texans, not really much to talk about. They can only build on their wins so much.
It shows how the Texans, when you play the Jaguars with Tyrod Taylor, okay, you can be a decent football team, but when you're playing with a rookie quarterback against this Bills defense, a good football team, just shows, like I said, the 4 interceptions, only had 87 yards passing. They had 6 first downs in this ball game.
Yikes.
And, Mills is just, with him under center, they're just, laughably bad. They were bad with Tyrod Taylor under center, but they're, laughably bad with Davis Mills.
After their win against the Jags, I thought they might be not as bad as we predicted, but this is just a laugher for them.
Even Mitch Trubisky got a rushing touchdown in this ball game.
Yeah, Mitch came in some mop-up duty and just, got
a little
help
bootleg
out.
rushing touchdown, Mr. MVP.
Now, do you know Cooks' numbers offhand?
He had 5 catches, 47 yards, so 47
still,
of the 80 passing.
Still the leading contributor, but their running backs didn't do anything at all.
Yeah, David Johnson, I think, was the second leading receiver, had like 3 catches for 27 yards. So, I mean, it's honestly really sad if you go and look at the box score, like, for this Texans offense. So.
Yeah, just imagine if so bottom line, Bills good, Texans bad. That's all we have to say about that.
I was going to say, I mean, by the 40-0 score pretty much sums it up just like that. So.
Yeah. This is a good segue into the next game. Lions falling to the Bears. Lions remained winless on the season. And that just got me thinking, what if the Texans played the Bears, like, offensively? What do you think
Oh, gosh. Like, 200 total yards in the ball game. Like, that's 2 of the worst offenses in the league right now.
Yeah. But the Bears actually looking better, taking the win 24-14.
I mean, it's hard to look worse after you put up 47 total yards in a ball game. So.
Yeah, that's true.
Like I said, I think we said kind of going into it that the Lions is definitely a good chance for you to have a get-right game, and they showed that they were able to put up a win, get back to 500 on the season.
Yeah, I mean, but still, better game for Fields, but not by much. 11 for 17, so not trusting him to pass the ball for 209. No touchdowns, 1 pick. Sacked only once, which is a hell of a lot better than last week's 9.
Better than 9, and then he wasn't really used as a rusher either. Only had 3 carries for 9 yards.
But the main guy, for them was David Montgomery with 23 rush attempts for 106 and 2 tutties. Did leave game with a knee injury. Saying right now it isn't a torn ACL, but it is looking concerning.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a multi-week injury, but definitely not looking like it's season-ending, which I think was kind of the thought when he first went down. I think I was just getting home like as the injury went on, so I wasn't able to see it live. But apparently, it did not look good when he first went down. So definitely, if it's only a multi-week injury, like that's best case scenario that he's not out for the season.
Exactly,
and it showed because he was having a great ball game in this one. Damian Williams came in and had 8 carries, 55 yards, and a touchdown for himself. Also had a couple catches. So
yeah, that's good in backup.
I mean, we know a couple years ago when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, he was their main running back, so he'll be able to step in as their RB1 for the next couple weeks.
Yeah, definitely a fantasy potential pickup. But Bears, Matt Nagy just still, even after a win, still doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, so on Monday, or we're filming this on Monday, so today he was saying that, once again reiterating that Andy Dalton, when he's healthy, is the starting quarterback. So it doesn't matter. Justin Fields could probably throw like 6 touchdowns in a ball game, and he would still say Andy Dalton is the quarterback when he's healthy.
Everyone knows that Fields is the future of this team, and the fact that they're kind of, I wouldn't say scorning him because he's still a rookie, but the fact that they don't trust him, is just... It's going to show that this Nagy Fields isn't going to be Nagy Fields for a while.
and let me tell you which one's going to leave between a coach that hasn't had much success in his tenure and their first round draft pick,
or a coach that
had
one successful season, ruined by a double doink.
Yeah, or their first round draft pick that they traded up for to get
from the Midwest that everyone likes. Lions side of the ball, just Lions have been unlucky again.
Yeah, I mean for 24-14 game, the Lions really could have won this ball game.
I mean, it's still close.
5 red zone trips, only had 1 touchdown in those 5 trips, and 2 costly turnovers, 2 fumbles from Jared Goff. I don't know if you saw the first one, but it was one where he was going up and changing.
That. Yeah, and it went right into...
he was changing the protection, and the center snaps, and it bounces off his shoulder and goes right to the defensive lineman, right in his hands. I think he was just as surprised as Goff was. It was like, oh,
look what
football.
I found. Yeah, exactly.
So definitely... didn't benefit from having all those couple turnovers and not capitalizing when they were in the red zone. And then late in the ball game, Dan Campbell decides to go for it on 4th and 1 from the 8 when they're down 10 with 4 minutes left. They end up not getting the first down, so still down 2 possessions after that, and then I don't think they got the football back by the end of the ball game. But
disappointing game from DeAndre Swift. 12 total touches for only 49 yards. Jamal Williams still getting a lot of carries as well, so it's kind of fantasy-wise, it's still a decent backfield.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, Stein. Dan Campbell got me. Like, I don't know if you saw the reports earlier in the week where it was like, DeAndre Swift is gonna get a lot more touches.
Main guy, yeah.
And so I put him in our reel as our stardom for the week and everything, coming out playing against the Bears and all of that.
You also had Logan Thomas in there too.
Well, I mean,
who can predict?
I was gonna say you can't really predict injuries, but you swing and you miss on some of them.
It's all right.
I put Swift in there, and then he ends up, like I said, 12 touches, 49 total yards. So just a big dud ball game.
Maybe coaches are playing more mind games than we think. But bottom line from this game, Bears offense better, but still nothing that we're going to write home about.
Yeah, they're still worst in yards per game and pass yards per game in the league right now through the first 4.
And I think the Lions kind of took a step back in this game, especially with those turnovers.
Yeah, we were saying how they were like one of the best 0-3 teams in the league, and definitely with the turnovers and not being able to capitalize in the red zone. This was a very winnable game against a Bears team that was kind of exposed. Yeah, and the Bears end up coming out on top.
Yep. All right, moving on to a surprising thriller. The 3-1 Panthers fall to the Cowboys, who are also now 3-1, 36-28.
Yeah, don't let this final score deceive you, Stein, because it was 33-14 Cowboys going into the fourth quarter, with them outscoring the Panthers 20-0 in the third. And the Cowboys, man. Cowboys might be a legit football team. Like
we joke about the NFC East every year, how a new team wins it. And right now, it looks as if the Cowboys are taking
their one loss was a close one opening night against the Tampa Bay Bucks. So
yeah, I mean, they've looked the part thus far. Everything seems to be working well for them. And it's starting right now with the rushing attack.
Yeah, that's what 245 rush yards overall in the ball game. Zeke, 20 carries, 143 yards, and a touchdown. He's been great the past couple weeks. Tony Pollard, 10 carries, 67 yards. Coming in and mop-up duty and getting those rush yards. And Dak, just 188 passing yards, but 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Dalton Schultz, once again, the tight end, looking great out there. Amari Cooper caught a touchdown pass. Really the only bad spot on the offense was CeeDee Lamb only had like 2 catches in the ball game. So but if you had him on your fantasy team, definitely disappointed in that. But overall, from just a Cowboys offensive perspective, they looked absolutely great in this ball game.
Yeah, and shout out to the Cowboys defense, which we've always joked about, but the guy leading the charge for them, even despite DeMarcus Ware not being out there, is Trayvon Diggs, the cornerback, with 5 interceptions on the season, 2 in this game, on pace for just ridiculous amount of picks.
Yeah, and I think we talked about it last week too, how Dan Quinn, he obviously leading the Legion of Boom. Falcons had a couple great defenses, especially when they're making playoff runs. He's really turned this defense around, really a bottom 5 defense in the league the past couple seasons, and didn't really make that many big additions to the defense, but he's really turned them around to not really be an elite defense, but just to be good enough where they have a great offense. So
it's a pretty balanced team now.
It's almost like a Chiefs situation where they had that elite offense out there, so the defense really just needs to hold their own, and you could give up 20 to 25 points in the ball game and still end up winning something like this where it's 36-28.
Yeah. For the Panthers, Darnold, again, pretty good, 301 pass yards, 4 total TDs, 2 on the ground, 2 in the air.
Yeah, Mr. Rushing quarterback, 2 rushing. I think I saw he's leading the league with 5 rushing touchdowns on the season.
Dang, that's pretty insane. And he's looking the part of a good quarterback. Not MVP anywhere near close to MVP caliber, but it's been looking good.
Yeah, and we weren't sure going into this ball game how he was going to be without CMC in there. I mean, some of these stats obviously coming in garbage time, so take that with a little grain of salt, but still ended up looking decent in this ball game. Did have the 2 interceptions, like we mentioned, to Trevon Diggs, but overall ends up being a decent game for Darnold, even though they don't get the win.
Yeah, and Chuba Hubbard wasn't very good.
Yeah, 13 carries, 57 yards. Like I said, just with them being down most of the game, he didn't get as many rushes as maybe we thought. He was replaced by Rodney Smith a lot during the passing down work.
And a guy that's really has been great this season is DJ Moore.
8 catches, 113 yards, 2 touchdowns. So the 2 touchdowns coming late in the ball game. But yeah, he's been definitely the wide receiver 1 for this Panthers team and kind of turning into one of the elite wide receivers so far in this league.
Yeah, I would say tier 2 right now because, a full sustained season of that would really get him. But he's definitely a guy that fantasy wise, especially, you want to have on your team.
And Robbie Anderson looking a little better out there. 11 targets. He had 9 targets. Guy. He had 9 targets in the first 3 games. So 11 targets in this ball game. Only turned out for like 5 catches, 46 yards. But hey, improvement is improvement. You can only go up from how he was in these first 3 ball games.
Yeah.
So hopefully he continues to get more involved in this offense, especially with the Christian McCaffrey injury.
Bottom line from this game, I think this game really shows that the Cowboys are going to win the East because they face an undefeated opponent, do their business, what they needed to do, really looking like the class of the NFC East.
Yeah, especially with like Washington football team not looking as good as we thought. The Eagles 1-3, and then the Giants 1-3 as well.
Yeah, but Panthers are still good. We can't discount the way that was just a better team.
We knew that they weren't as good as the Bucs, but definitely still a team in consideration to get a wild card spot. And like I said, we kind of knew going in that this was going to be a tough matchup for them. So we'll have to see how they do in another. I think they play another tough team next week.
Yeah, still have some more tests to face. All right, moving on to the Colts at the Dolphins. I didn't see anything about this game. I assume this is that one red zone game that they showed nothing of.
Well, I have a feeling they didn't show too much in this ball game. The next game that we get to was the red zone game where they didn't show like anything. But yeah, I mean, a 27-17 ball game. 2 teams finishing 1-3 after this ball game, so not really a whole lot to talk about. Carson Wentz, 75% completion percentage. He threw for 228 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. But he still doesn't look 100% out there with the 2 busted ankles. Just mobility is still kind of a problem, missing some receivers with some open passes. I think Michael Pittman could have had like 1, maybe even 2 touchdowns in this ballgame where he just missed them. So it's still definitely not looking like 100%.
No, I mean, and thank God he finally had a little bit of help on the offense with Jonathan Taylor having a good game for once this season. I was going to say
he finally showed up, 16 carries, 103 yards, and a touchdown. He had a couple of big chunk runs as well, so definitely promising to see that from him.
Yep.
On the Dolphins side, I mean, they're one of the worst offenses in the league as well, especially with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. So 199 pass yards on 30 attempts from Brissett. As a team, they had 16 carries for 35 yards rushing. Myles Gaskin.
I didn't know that averages out to 2.
That's a little more than 2. Myles Gaskin 2 carries for 3 yards in the ball game. He was outtouched by Malcolm Brown and Salvin Ahmed, which is troubling to see if you're a Myles Gaskin fantasy owner.
As I am, yeah.
Jacoby Brissett 2 garbage time touchdowns in the fourth quarter, which kind of saved his stat line for the day. And then just another loss on the offensive side for the Dolphins. A guy that always seems to be hurt, Will Fuller, broken finger. He's week to week, which I imagine it's going to be kind of hard to catch a football with a broken finger. I don't know which one it is.
Yeah, just a guy that can't seem to stay on the field.
He'll be wearing like the little war club on one side, like trying to trap the football.
To clap it together. And just an offense that just hasn't been able to get anything going at all.
Yeah, second fewest yards per game this season at 252, and then second fewest in points per game at 15.5. So
I'll go ahead and say that I just think the Dolphins are bad overall. I thought they might have been
I still remember we were talking about it like back one of our first episodes, like back at the draft, and like even like going into this offseason, how they just missed out on the playoffs last year. Like this will be a good like Dolphins team. Yeah, they had a great draft. Like Tua another year under center. Like everything's gonna be great. Like Dolphins.
Gesicki's gonna take that next step.
Yeah, like Dolphins will be a fringe playoff team this year, and man, through these first 4 games, they have not looked the part. I mean. When Tua comes back, he's really going to need to turn around this ship for them to be successful.
Yeah, we could be seeing a potentially new quarterback for Dolphins pretty soon because that's going to be the first issue that they're going to point out, even though Brissett's been capable, but he's not a starter.
If Tua comes back and he ends up being like just as bad as Brissett's been in these couple weeks, then I think you might be calling Houston a couple phone calls for Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, you might be moving Xavier Howard or something like that.
Yeah, so...
I'll say it, go ahead and say it. I picked the Dolphins in this one. This is probably one of my worst picks of the week.
I picked the Lions, so a team that hadn't won a ball game yet, so we kind of evened out between those 2 ball games.
I had 2 questionable picks, and I'm like, why did I do it? And this was one of them. But bottom line, I didn't even watch this game, but I just assumed it sucked because both offenses were probably really boring.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, just on both sides, just bad offense. I think is mainly a defensive battle throughout the game, and it wasn't even really as close as the score says because the Dolphins got 2 late touchdowns.
Yeah. Finally, Jonathan Taylor does something, but like I said, the Dolphins are just bad overall.
Mm-hmm.
Not as good as we assumed. All right. this is the game that you were talking about, was probably the red zone game that was never on, and
there was 2 total touchdowns in the ball game.
Yeah, the Browns at the Vikings. Browns come out with the win. And what I would call just a slugfest, 14-7.
Yeah, Stein, don't let that score deceive you, because the Browns got a touchdown, went for 2 for whatever reason, got the 2-point conversion, and then 2 field goals. So only 2 total touchdowns.
So
in the
weird
ball
way
game.
To get to 14-7.
Yeah, and it was, like I said, an unexpected low-scoring game, because the Vikings have had a great offense so far this season.
Yeah, Vikings have looked great on offense.
The first 3 games of the season, they were averaging 425 yards. In this game, they only had 255 total yards. So definitely down in those numbers. The Browns defense, of course, is very good. But the name of the game for the Browns was Chunt. 169 yards on the ground between them, and a touchdown from Kareem Hunt. Baker really didn't do much in this ball game. Under 50% completion percentage and just 155 scoreless yards on the day.
Yeah, offensively, we know what they're going to do with the ball, and that's going to give it to Kareem Hunt or Nick Chubb. And those guys did what they needed to do. Baker just, under 50% completion percentage, just not going to be able to get it done like that.
Yeah, Baker really hasn't looked good this season, even with the Browns being 3-1. I mean, they've been carried by that heavy run offense that they have. So
exactly. Viking side of the ball, Kurt, pretty similar to Baker.
His definitely his worst game of the season. Just 20 of 38, 203 yards passing, 1 touchdown, threw his first interception of the season. He went 6 for 6 for 59 yards and a touchdown to Justin Jefferson on the first drive, and then, of course, if you do the math on that, just didn't do much the rest of the ball game.
I guess the idea was, that everyone was probably so excited. First drive, that's the result. You're at home. You're like, all right, this is going to be a great game. Going to be high scoring, and then 14-7.
Yeah, I mean both teams started the second half with 8 straight punts. There was 13 punts overall in the ball game and 3 turnovers on downs. So just once again, just an absolute defensive slugfest overall. Yeah. Dalvin Cook missed last week with an ankle injury. 11 touches for 44 yards. He left the field at one point during the second half. Looked like he aggravated that ankle injury. Didn't really get any carries till later on.
In a game like this, though, they really probably didn't need him because they were trying to pass it to get back.
Yeah.
But the receivers for the Vikings, who we've really started to fall in love with. I mean, besides Jefferson, really.
Jefferson had a good ball game. Thielen only had 3 catches. Osborne 2 catches. Conklin 4 catches for 18 yards. So
we thought that these guys would be doing good, but just.
And then even on the Brown side, OBJ, 7 targets, just 2 catches for 27 yards. So Baker missed him on a couple of throws.
Yeah. Bottom line from this game, it was defensive battle. You're going to have those in this league. But Chunt is going to carry the Browns. We kind of figured this. And you got to say this is the Vikings' first bad offensive game.
Yeah, overall. Even with being 1-3 overall in the season, I think this was their worst game overall, and definitely offensively with only getting 7 points.
Yes. All right. We're going to go to the next game, which is, I would say, another upset, pretty big upset.
Yeah, definitely an upset as the Giants, both New York teams get the victory this week, and both in overtime, as they win 27-21
against
over the
superior
Saints.
Opponents. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So the Giants were down 21-10 going into the fourth quarter, and then they took the opening drive in overtime all the way down the field. Saquon Barkley caps it off with a rushing touchdown, his second touchdown of the ball game.
Walk-off touchdown for the Giants. Saquon coming into his own. All Saquon owners, you gotta love that. Just
54-yard touchdown reception in the ball game. Finished with 5 catches, 74 yards.
I mean, the rushing yards weren't there, but the touchdowns, you gotta be happy with.
Yeah, they were trailing for most of the ball game, so Daniel Jones had his first 400-yard passing effort.
Yeah.
So
Daniel Jones was making big plays, which I was, I had to start him on my team because I forgot to start Trevor. I haven't checked the final numbers, but Daniel might have had, I think, more than Trevor, and Trevor had a good game, too.
So he had 402 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 1 interception thrown, and it was on a Hail Mary right before halftime.
Yeah, so you can't even count that.
There needs to be a way to, not count those in terms of a fantasy stat line, but... they were down Sterling Shepard and then down Darius Slayton, but they had 4 players with at least 74 receiving yards. Galladay led the way, 6 catches, 116 yards, always had some big plays. Kadarius Toney finally being used in this offense.
Everyone's like, all right, he's actually fast. We can stop making fun of him.
Yeah, 6 catches for 78 yards.
And then Justin Ross. John Ross.
Justin Ross
will be coming out next year.
I'd say he's still at Clemson. But his first game for the Giants, fresh off the IR, 3 catches for 77 yards. and a long touchdown. So
speaking of speedsters, yep.
Yeah, so overall, not having two of their top 3 receivers, they end up doing just fine. Saquon obviously being the 4th guy with 74 receiving yards. So Giants offense, that we talked about how good the Saints defense is, and I wouldn't say an amazing performance, but obviously good enough to get the job done.
Yeah, I mean, just able to and for the Saints, this was a trap game for the Giants because you're going into New Orleans, the first game since Hurricane Ida. This is New Orleans after a hurricane is inspired, but they did not play inspired football.
Like I said, I mean, they were leading for most of this ball game. They let the Giants force overtime, and then obviously losing the coin flip, they don't even get a chance to have the ball in overtime. But this Saints offense is just so dysfunctional. I mean, Taysom Hill had 2 rushing touchdowns in the ball game, but
also had an interception, thrown.
Yeah, but any time that Taysom goes into the ball game, they always pull Jameis out. They usually pull Kamara out too. Like, you always know Taysom's gonna run the football. Yeah. Like, I just feel like Sean Payton needs to just use him as a tight end, use him as a running back. Like, quit using him in this wildcat formation.
Exactly.
Because they don't have that true wide receiver 1 since Michael Thomas is still out. And like I said, if you're pulling out Alvin Kamara, your best offensive player, when Taysom Hill's out there, Taysom's just going to keep the football.
Yeah, and I mean, Jameis's numbers have been all over the place too. It's just been interesting what they've been trying to do. They just need to find one thing and stick with it. You feel like they're trying too much right now.
Yeah, I think once Michael Thomas comes back and they have a true wide receiver 1, because Deontay Harris I think had the best game as a wide receiver for the Saints in this one. So once they get a true wide receiver out there, maybe they'll start to go to more traditional offense, start passing the ball a little more. You'll see Jameis have more than 185 passing yards or something like that he usually has. Maybe go back to those Tampa days.
Yeah, but hopefully more interceptions too.
Yeah, but like I said, I mean, just a great comeback win for the Giants in this one, and definitely one that the Saints let slip away late.
Yeah, this is a good win for the Giants. The G-Men shows the Falcons win might be a little more legit. Maybe
boost the Falcons' resume.
Yeah. All right. Well, bottom line, before I move on, I just say we don't know what Saints team we're gonna get.
We said going in during the preview that they were going to be a roller coaster team every single week. We thought because they were playing the Giants that it wouldn't be one of their low weeks, but obviously we were proved wrong by their performance.
No team can go 500 anymore, but if this was a team to go 500, it'd be the Saints.
Yeah, 8-9, 9-8.
Yep. Moving on to, this game score doesn't really tell the whole story.
Yeah, this was kind of like the Cowboys-Panthers game where the final score, a late touchdown
a little bit
of the ball
closer
game,
than people think,
made it look closer. And that's the Chiefs and the Eagles. So the Chiefs won this one 42-30, moved back to 2-2 on the season. Mentioned earlier, the Eagles falling to 1-3. Pat Mahomes, great ball game, 5 touchdown passes, just 1 interception.
Spreading it around.
Tyreek Hill, after posting 2 kind of bad performances, went back to his week 1 self, 11 catches, 186 yards, and 3 touchdowns in the ball game. Came at the price of Travis Kelce only having 4 catches for 23 yards. But also Clyde Edwards-Helaire having another 100-yard rushing effort. So I know you love that for your fantasy team. Stein also had another receiving touchdown.
Yeah, and no fumbles. He's had the dropsies a little bit, but love to see him get involved. It's funny because it's they still win, and Tyreek and Clyde Edwards put up these numbers, but someone has to suffer.
Yeah,
and it's Kelce.
It's they can only support 2 out of the 3 guys that they need for this offense. So Travis Kelce having the down game, but like I said, it doesn't end up hurting the Chiefs in the
Everything
end.
else is working for them, but their defense is still a little bit of an issue, and that kind of showed by Jalen Hurts actually having a great game.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts almost 400 passing yards in this ball game, and then also led the team in rushing, 8 carries for 47 yards. Sacked 3 times in this ball game. The Eagles' offensive line has been banged up, a couple injuries along that front. Miles Sanders just a disappearing act these past couple weeks.
Just been disappointing.
Yeah, 10 touches, 47 yards. Got outplayed by Kenneth Gainwell. I mean, Gainwell got his touchdown towards the end of the game when it was kind of already decided, so it may account that to trying to get your backups a little more work in. But Sanders over the past couple weeks just has not been good.
No, it really just hasn't looked like an RB1, and might even get relegated in these coming weeks with Gainwell. I would say emerging And Jalen Hurts also emerging as a rushing option. But you can't discount what Jalen did with the ball. He was giving it to Devontae Smith, who had 7 catches for 122 yards. Great game for him.
Yeah, both the tight ends had a good game. Ertz and Goddard. Goddard had a touchdown. They had a bunch of touchdowns called back due to penalties, which led to them getting some field goals in the red zone. 3 field goals for Jake Elliott in this ball game, just a long of 31 yards. So, you do the math on that. That means they were in the red zone each time they ended up kicking a field goal. So, you figured they lose by 12 points if they get 3 touchdowns instead of those 3 field goals. It's a 42-42 ball game. So, just not being able to capitalize in the red zone was definitely their downfall in this one.
Yeah.
For the Chiefs, Andy Reid gets his 100th win with the Chiefs. He's the first coach to get have 200-win season or 200 wins
with
yes.
different team.
Yeah, with the Eagles and the Chiefs.
I
worded that very badly.
You kind of botched that, but it's okay. I'll save you with it because his win also comes against his former team, the Eagles, which is kind of a good story.
Yeah, he has 100 wins with 2 different franchises in his career. That got his 100th with the Chiefs, and then obviously getting over 100 with the Eagles. So he was the first head coach to do that.
Yeah. So great, and it's also nice to see him fully healthy and coaching like we know he can.
Yep.
Bottom line from this game wasn't as close as the score said. We already said that. But Hurts looked better, and this is hopefully we see Hurts improve as it goes on. All right, let's go to the 4:00 slate. In a awesome game between the Cardinals and the Rams. Cardinals come out on top, which is very surprising for a lot of people, even though both teams were undefeated going into this.
Yeah, we both picked the Rams going into this ball game, especially being battle tested and battle proven against the Bucs the week before. And the Cardinals really showed us something with kind of getting the early lead and really controlling it for just about the whole ball game.
Yeah.
Like you said, winning 37-20. It was 24-13 Cardinals at halftime, and then 34-13 going into the fourth quarter. So just really taking advantage of this ball game early. Kyler having another decent game, probably his worst statistical game, just 268 pass yards and 2 touchdowns, but has really been spreading the ball around, kind of like we were talking about earlier with Josh Allen. He's not focusing on DeAndre Hopkins, who's still been dealing with the rib injury, but AJ Green led the team receiving, 5 catches, 67 yards, and a touchdown. D-Hop still 4 catches, 67 yards, mainly being shadowed by Jalen Ramsey all game. And then Max Williams, the tight end, has really emerged for them. 5 catches, 66 yards, and a touchdown for him as well. So just like I said, spreading the ball around and really getting it to we didn't even mention Christian Kirk, who had only 1 catch, and then Rondale Moore, who's had a good game earlier this season, only had 3 catches.
Yeah, this Cardinals offense is looking good, and Max Williams, I would say, is kind of emerging at maybe the young up and coming tight end of the season, as we seem to have one of those every year. So he's kind of my pick for that guy right now. Team wise, rushing, it was a pretty big rushing attack for them. With Chase Edmonds finally having some good yardage, 120 rush yards, and then you got Connor with 2 rushing touchdowns.
He's been killing my fantasy team, Stein. He's got 4 rushing touchdowns these past 2 weeks. I literally lost by less than 10 points this week because they went to the run-heavy approach. Connor got 2 touchdowns, and then because they were up by so much late in the ball game, they got into the red zone, and then Kyler just kind of conceded and ended up going for a field goal. So he's been killing my fantasy team in that regard, but I guess that's a positive. When you're up by so much, you really don't need any more touchdowns at the end of the game for the Cardinals.
Stafford on the Rams side wasn't as good, as he has been.
Yeah, this was really his first bad game, especially for the Rams, because we had seen him clicking in those first 3 ball games. He had 2 touchdowns. I know one of them was in garbage time, and then also had an interception. The ball game was not as accurate as we had seen him early on this season.
No.
You see it with Cooper Kupp, 13 targets, just 5 catches from those 13 targets for 64 yards. So his worst statistical game of the season. We knew how good they had been these first 3 games.
Yeah, I mean, he's allowed to have a bad game. Everyone's entitled to one.
I mean, it's a good Cardinals defense, too.
Yeah. This Cards defense is better than we expected. Bottom line for this game, I think the Cards are now, even though some people can maybe make an argument, I'd say the Cards are the best team in the NFL right now.
I mean, the only other undefeated team is the Raiders, who are playing right now and losing. So all the other teams that were undefeated going into this week lost.
Yeah, I mean, the Rams are still good. I think when they play each other again, this could be a split. kind of series.
Yeah,
and
I'd say probably the biggest takeaway from it is that the Cardinals being able to go on the road, play at SoFi Stadium, and beat the Rams on the road.
Yeah, back-to-back games at SoFi Stadium, which is funny. But, this is also could be a potential playoff game as well. Mm-hmm. These guys could see each other again 3 times in a season. All right, another divisional battle in the NFC West. Moving on with the Seahawks beating out the Niners 28-21.
Kind of a weird game style because the 49ers outgained the Seahawks in the ball game 457-234, so pretty much doubling them up in total yards, but the Seahawks able to come away with the victory. And really the big story for the Seahawks through the first 3 weeks of the season was that they couldn't score at all in the second half of the ball game.
Yeah.
Well, in this one, they got a late touchdown at the end of the first half, and then they actually showed up in the second half and ended up getting 21 points in the second half. So great offensive performance for them. Then Russell Wilson had a rushing touchdown in the ball game. DK Metcalf had a receiving touchdown as well. So really nothing flashy from the Seahawks side, but just able to do enough to get things done.
Yeah. Looking at the Niners side of the ball, Jimmy Garoppolo going out with a calf injury. So Trey Lance had to come in and play. Only 50% completing, 9 out of 18. So 57 yards with 2 touchdowns, which, the 2 touchdowns you got to be happy for.
Yeah, especially one 76-yard touchdown to Deebo Samuel came on some busted coverage where he was able to break free. And then also 7 carries, 41 yards rushing on the ground, so we knew about his dual threat ability. So nice to see the little bit of rushing work as well.
And I know you're a big Deebo guy, and he just continues to dominate.
Yeah, 8 catches, 157 yards, 2 touchdowns in the ball game. I mean, with Cooper Kupp's performance, he might be the leading guy in terms of receiving yards now this season. Tyler Lockett for the Seattle side had another down game, so I think he's out of the conversation for that.
Yeah.
So Deebo has been absolutely great. I sold him off last week high, which seeing him have this 2 touchdown performance.
That could still land in your favor. I mean, this 49ers offense can be uninspiring sometimes, and I know you do say that Jimmy G's expected to be out, but the news dropped today.
Yeah, I did see that.
We finally get to break some news that he potentially will be ready to go for next week's game.
Yeah, Shanahan said he's not ruling him out for then. Shanahan, kind of like Matt Nagy is saying that when he's healthy, Jimmy G is going to be the starter, which we keep saying every single week how he's not doing anything flashy, but doing just enough to not make mistakes and lose the starting job. So I think, especially if he ends up being healthy enough to play this week, he's going to be the starter. But I think the big question mark is going to be if he's out for a couple weeks, like 2 to 3 weeks, and Trey Lance ends up playing well, because he was decent in the second half. I mean, someone coming cold off the bench in the second half and having a decent performance like that. Could Trey Lance end up staying the starter when he comes back? Could it be like an Alex Smith, Colin Kaepernick type deal?
Yeah, I mean, it could be interesting, who they decide to go with. Because right now, Garoppolo, it's different than the story in Chicago, because we know Fields is going to be far and away better than anything they have to offer. But we don't know if Lance will be better than what Jimmy G's doing, because Jimmy G's not doing anything bad enough to lose it. So, interesting case there. Also got to mention Kittle, another stinker this season.
Yeah, he started off really hot, had 4 catches for 40 yards, and then just stuck with that for the whole ball game. Yeah. He did have 11 targets, so and almost had a touchdown, but it got jarred away by Jamal Adams late in the ball game, so ended up not getting that touchdown, But yeah, he came in with a calf injury, had an okay start, but then, like I said, phased out towards the end.
Yeah.
So
Debo's taken all of these receptions now.
Yeah, and then also Brandon Ayuk only had 1 catch in the ball game, so that's another reason why I don't expect Debo to have these huge blow-up games week in and week out. I expect those other guys to get involved in the offense.
Yeah. Finishing up with the Seahawks, though, we talked about how the Niners outgained them, and Russ only just 149 passing yards. But 3 TDs, so surprisingly efficient.
3 touchdowns,
one of them on the ground.
One of them rushing. Chris Carson, his first bad game of the season, 13 carries for 30 yards.
Yeah.
I think the more concerning thing is Alex Collins getting 10 carries.
Carroll loves Alex Collins.
Yeah, he got 10 carries and then also 2 touches out of the backfield receiving-wise as well. So as a Chris Carson owner, I've been trying to sell him off now since he had a couple good games to start out the season. So a little concerning to see if Alex Collins continues to get touches for the Seahawks.
Yeah. Bottom line from this one, just another good game from the great NFC West. That it's just going to be a huge battle. We could see 3 playoff teams from this division. It's that possible.
Yeah, they could have both the wild card spots as well.
And this it's going to be fun to watch this.
Yeah, I think they actually flip. I know 2 of them play on Thursday Night Football. The Rams and the Seahawks play on Thursday Night Football, but I think the Niners and the Cardinals play each other this week as well. So they flip the divisional opponents.
Yeah, so we might see someone finally, take charge. Cardinals are taking charge, but we could see some more shakeup. All right, going to the 4:25 games. The Ravens travel to Denver to take on the Broncos, and which is probably my other worst pick of the week. I picked the Broncos.
You fell in love with the undefeated team.
I did.
You even said how you thought it might come back to bite you.
I saw the kind of pretty girl at the dance, and I wanted to dance with her, Roach. And then the clock struck midnight. The clock struck midnight, and the Cinderella story was up for the Broncos. So Teddy Bridgewater. God, I'm struggling. I need a reliever.
I was gonna say we're almost an hour into this filming, so we're starting to lose the energy.
Yeah. Teddy Bridgewater leaving the game with a concussion. My boy, Drew Lock, comes in.
Yeah, you love Drew Lock.
And just not great.
12 of 21, 113 yards, no touchdowns, and a pick for Drew Lock. Teddy Bridgewater wasn't great when he was out there before he left with the concussion. 7 of 16, 65 yards. Did have a touchdown pass, though, so just overall, scoring 7 points, not a great offensive performance for the Broncos in this one. And the Ravens, a 300-yard passing game for Lamar Jackson, just the second time in his career that he's had over 300 yards passing.
Which is interesting for a guy who's had an MVP.
Yeah, and then Tyson Williams, a surprise inactive. They had Le'Veon Bell active for this one, so Latavius Murray was the lead back. He did okay, 18 carries, 59 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah.
Le'Veon Bell got 4 carries in the ball game. Lamar just 7 carries for 28 yards. So I'm kind of surprised that they're going with all these old, washed-up veteran backs instead of going with Tyson Williams.
Yeah, interesting move there. We don't know exactly what happened, but
Harbaugh said that it wasn't anything against Tyson. They just wanted to give Le'Veon some work, and I guess they just didn't want to carry 4 running backs out there or 5 if you got the fullback.
Yeah, and this was certainly a game that they could have some flexibility in. Surprisingly sneakily defensive, though. The Ravens and the Broncos both have really good defenses, I would say. So, these two defenses going against each other, created a 23-7
I would say
score.
definitely give credit to the Broncos defense, who, we kind of made fun of them for not playing against a team that had a win yet this season, but still giving up, 23 points to this high-powered offense and rushing attack for the Ravens, which they had some sort of streak of 100-plus rushing yard games. They got 102. They got it instead of taking a knee. Lamar went for a 5-yard carry on the last play of the game to get them right over 100 rushing yards. So to be able to hold the best rushing offense in the league over the past couple seasons, 23 points. Just a great performance from them.
Bottom line, Broncos may be fake, but what do we expect? I think we were giving a little too much credit. I think their defense is going to help them out, but offensively,
I was going to say, they're definitely going to do or die with their offense.
Yeah, and just a sneakily defensive game. So, have those going forward. Then the last of the afternoon slate, we have the Steelers traveling to Lambeau in a rematch of Super Bowl 45. I remembered it this time. Just an interesting game, another interesting game, as we had some unlikely heroes for the Packers.
Yeah, so Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones kind of took a backseat to A.J. Dillon and Randall Cobb in this one. So A.J. Dillon, 15 carries for 81 yards. Randall Cobb, 5 catches for 69 yards and 2 touchdowns, stepped up as the wide receiver 2 as Marquez Valdez-Scantling went on the IR earlier this week.
Yep.
And Aaron Jones was apparently dealing with an ankle injury going into this week as well, so some extra carries for A.J. Dillon, and he didn't disappoint in the ball game.
No, kind of made the best of the situation, and Packers looked good again, just efficient all over the ball. But the big story for this one is just how bad the Steelers' offense is looking with Big Ben under center.
Yeah, this was kind of like a Colts-Dolphins game where in terms of it kind of, I think, a similar score in 27-17, but just there wasn't much action that really went on in this ball game. But yeah, the Steelers' offense with Big Ben just they checked down the ball on 4th down twice in this ball game, and you're expecting Najee Harris with no blockers out there to like break 3 tackles and get 5 yards for the first down. Big Ben, once again, like we'll say it, immobile in the pocket. He's missing on throws. He could have had a touchdown to Juju in the ball game that he just overthrew him. 4 touchdowns and 4 interceptions so far on the season.
Yeah.
So that's through 4 games. So averaging just 1 touchdown, 1 pick for the season per game. Sacked 10 times in those 4 games. He just has not looked good.
Yeah, I mean, this is the writing's on the wall. We all kind of realize that with Big Ben right now.
So some people were making jokes that apparently Aaron Rodgers kind of looked over to Mike Tomlin at one point on the sideline, and Tomlin kind of smiled. And you know how like the shaky waters that Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are on. Like,
That's true.
Next season maybe
that could be something to look out for.
If Aaron Rodgers still has a little bit left in the tank, which we've seen him play well these past 3 games.
Steelers would love that. Let's not start any rumors. Deontay Johnson did look good in his return. 13 targets, 9 for 92 and a tutty.
Yeah, he was definitely the leading receiver. Had a 45-yard touchdown early on in the ball game.
Yeah,
one of Big Ben's few good passes overall in one-on-one coverage.
Bottom line for this game, I'm going to say it. The Steelers aren't going to make the playoffs, Roach. The way that every other team in their division won this week, it just shows, they're not a good team.
I mean, with each loss, even with the 17 having the extra games in the season, it's just not looking good. 1-3 so far right now. There's, like I said, even with how strong their defense is, the offense just looked that bad where it can't overcome like how good their defense is.
Yeah, but with how good the Browns and the Ravens have been, and even the Bengals getting that good win, gonna be interesting. All right, the 8 o'clock primetime NBC game. The Bucks travel to New England. Tom Brady's return. It was all about Tom Brady in this game.
Brady, Belichick, no Gronkowski though in this ball game. Wanted to see a reunion for him as well, but of course had the big pregame stuff. You had the video play at Gillette Stadium, all the fans cheering him. But then once it got to game time, you heard the boo birds come out when Brady ran out onto the field for their first drive.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like, all right, you did what you did what you did for us, but we're the Patriots and you're not a part of us anymore. You could have been, but now it's Tampa Bay, which I really hate that all Patriots fans are also like Bucks fans too.
Well, I thought the funniest thing was that they had during the pregame they had a bunch of like quotes. I guess they went out on the streets and like got quotes from Patriots fans, but it was all they were asking people about like would they cheer for Tom Brady, like how would they react and all that stuff. And I thought it was funny that they were like showing him on the screen like during the pregame. It was like all these different. They're like a generic name from blah 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 city in Massachusetts and all that. So it's almost like sending in fan mail or something like that.
Yeah, I didn't watch this game because I was actually on a family dinner. I wish I would have because you
missed a good ball game. Like a lot better ball game than we thought it was going to be.
I mean, I heard it was kind of boring though. Like it's
19-17 ball game. So, not a lot
it's
of
rainy.
Offense. It was
rainy
very
night.
Rainy out there.
A rainy night in New England, so in Foxborough, which that just shows that offense isn't going to be very effective. But let's stop talking about the pageantry and talk about the game. Patriots passing the ball. Mac Jones, great game.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably some very lofty expectations going into this game, especially since, it's like Brady's return to Foxborough and all that, and like him being obviously the guy that comes in after and replaces Brady. So 31 for 40, 275 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception. At one point in the ball game, he had 19 straight completions, which was like a rookie record going back to like 40 years ago or something like that, the first time that it had happened. Mm-hmm. So overall, a great game for him, and he had to pass the ball since they only had -1 rushing yards in the ball game on 8 carries. So.
Yeah, weird kind of offense for them with that.
I mean, the Bucks defensive front obviously is elite. So they were down a lot in the ball game, so having to throw the football too. But yeah, the Bucks, speaking of their defense, had another injury in the secondary. Carlton Davis went down with a quad injury. They've lost like 3 or 4 starters in the secondary.
Yeah, we return all 22 starters. Yeah, no, now you don't have all 22 starters. Okay, let's be honest. I'm
a little salty there.
I'm gonna be salty for any team that Tom Brady plays on. We do got to mention though, he does break the NFL passing record. Being 44 though, that does kind of tend to help playing 20+ seasons.
Hey, the weirdest thing about it was that there was the pass where he got it. They kind of like adjusted the ball and like moved it up a yard because they said on the broadcast that he was a yard short. And then they said, wait, they moved it up a yard, so he tied Drew Brees on it. And then they ended up having a time. Someone called a timeout. I don't remember if it was the Bucs or the Patriots called a timeout. So they went to break. When they came back, they were like, actually, when they moved the football up, he broke it by 1 yard. So it was like the most anticlimactic way to like break it. They had no sort of like a standing ovation, reception on the field, blah 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 blah. They literally just came out from the timeout and just kept playing the ball game. So
yeah,
like I said, it was just a very weird reception and way for him to break the passing yard record.
Yeah, and this is a record that could stand for a while, but we could have our boy Patty Mahomes potentially. Yeah. I'm sure that's like everyone's thinking could break it.
Yeah, definitely.
But let's give credit to the Bucs defense who played well in this game.
Yeah, 4 sacks, 2 turnovers, had an interception off Mack, and then also a fumble recovery. Yep. I had the Bucs defense going late in that ball game, had a chance to win, but with Hunter Henry scoring the touchdown, then that kind of sealed my fate overall in this ball game. And we haven't mentioned this yet, but the Patriots actually had a chance to win this ball game.
Yeah, so I was going to say finish up with that.
It was pouring down rain towards the end of the ball game. Patriots drive down the field, get into field goal range, and then Nick Folk has the distance but doinks the 56-yard field goal that would have taken the lead with just under a minute to go in the football game.
Similar to the Titans, we talked about that, how they've just been trying out kickers and still hoping something works.
Well, everyone thought it was crazy that in the pouring rain going for a 56-yard field goal because obviously muddy and stuff to get that plant leg.
Yeah, there's wind stirring for sure.
But he ends up, like I said, he had the distance overall on it. He's just kept going left and then just hit off that left upright. So
yeah,
just for it's got to be a win just for the Patriots to be in this ball game with everything going on with Brady and all that.
Mac having an improvement game, and let's just talk about the rookie quarterbacks in general though. Just a lot better of a week compared to last week for all these rookie quarterbacks. Bottom line of this game though, Roach. Rainy, low scoring, Brady, stroking, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I think there was a good movie on FX, so, if you want to change the channel.
I was going to say, what, are you saying you turned off the game? You didn't want to hear about Tom Brady anymore?
I'm sure some Super Bowl pictures were shown on the broadcast.
Oh, definitely.
I don't even want to know what the graphics look like. But also, before we cut off to our awards, Patriots are taking on the Texans next week, so I like how you included that because that could be a get-right game for them.
Yeah, I put the Patriots definitely have a much easier test next week when they face off against the Texans. But
yeah.
Stein, before we go to our awards, I'll just give you a quick update on our Week 4 standings. So I'm 11-4, you are 10-5. This Monday night game that we are watching behind us where the Chargers are up 7-0 is going to be our make or break one. I've got the Chargers, you've got the Raiders, so might have our first tie. We might have another losing week for you.
You're in the driver's seat right now, Roach. I mean, the Chargers are winning. The Raiders really haven't done anything on offense. We did just see Hunter Renfrow, though. The Chargers went for a fake punt. I don't know if you witnessed that.
I saw the replay.
Yeah, a fake punt lined up. I don't know, some scrub, running back or receiver in the slot. Guy goes out uncovered. I don't know who the Chargers punter is, but he throws it, and then Hunter Renfrow heads up play goes and covers it and knocks it out of him for the incompletion.
Basically decleated him. It was a big tackle for
a
slot wide receiver.
Yeah, but this is going to be a make-or-break game for me. We might have a coin flip on Thursday, but we will see.
Yeah, so we'll have that. Stay tuned for that. In our next episode, we'll have, obviously, the final tally and then also have our punishment.
Yes. All right. Now we're going to have our quarter-week awards. I think by week 8, we're going to give our, half-season awards, or week 8.5. I don't know. We'll figure that out.
Once we get into, the middle part of the season, either week 8 or week 9.
Mid-season awards, but it's weird to say that we're already a quarter through.
Yeah,
I feel like yesterday was opening day.
Yeah, we are flying through this season.
I feel like yesterday was opening day for baseball, honestly. That's how far
we're about to start the postseason tomorrow.
Yeah, which is a whole nother, animal for us fans.
Mm-hmm.
We almost had some craziness in the baseball realm, but
once again, very anticlimactic in that regard as well. No tiebreaker games or anything like that. But
let's get down to it. We have some offensive. We're going to start with the MVPs of the year thus far. We're not splitting it into NFC and AFC MVP or anything like that.
Obviously not official end of the season things. If we do that towards the end of the season, we might split it up. But
But right now, the offensive MVP has got to be Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I mean, just with leading the Cardinals to a 4-0 start overall in the season, he's been absolutely great. I've been comparing him to kind of like how Josh Allen was playing last season. Obviously, he was second in the MVP voting, so just not only being able to do it with his arms, but also with his legs as well. Always been dangerous in that regard. So.
I would say the biggest argument for him right now is the fact that he is the best player on the best team. Yeah, on the best team. Because I don't know who else you could say is better than him. I mean, D-Hop has been putting up those kind of D-Hop numbers, and just the numbers with Kyler has been putting up. I will say the interceptions are a little bit concerning, but those have just been scrambles.
Didn't have any last week or yesterday. So.
Yeah, but overall though, and then I would say Cooper Kupp could have been honorable mention.
If you want to, I mean, obviously MVP is usually a quarterback-dominated award, just like the Heisman. So if you want to go like dark horse, like non-quarterback, you could give like a Cooper Kupp, even with him having a bad week yesterday against the Cardinals.
Yep. Defensive side of the ball, the MVP is Trayvon Diggs for the Cowboys.
We mentioned earlier just how good he's been for that Cowboys defense.
Yeah.
The 5 interceptions, 8 passes deflected. Both are leading the league right now.
Yeah.
He's might be like that next elite corner. We always have like that one guy come around like that's elite for 2 or 3 seasons. He might be that next guy.
Yeah, hitting his stride right at the perfect time. And maybe an honorable mention could go to Myles Garrett, who leads the league with 6 sacks right now. Mm-hmm. Of course, a lot in that Chicago game, but still, just...
Hey, 6 sacks through 4 games is 6 sacks through 4 games.
Don't discount what he's done. Rookies are a little bit harder to gauge right now, but we got to give it to Penei Sewell, who's actually in action as we speak. Or no, excuse me. I was thinking of Rashawn Slater, who's also could get the nod.
He's been playing very well this season as well. But I gave it to Sewell just with like coming in to this Lions team. He was originally going to play one of the tackle positions. Taylor Decker gets hurt in the first week, moves to the other tackle position. I don't remember if it's left to right or right to left. But regardless, obviously not. He passed up his last season of college football, so playing his first time professionally in 2 seasons, and he's been good for a bad Lions team.
Yeah,
I don't think he's given up a single sack in 4 games yet this season.
He's been a bright spot, and the Lions have been in some games, and I'm sure he's definitely some unspoken credit as an offensive lineman.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to the end of the season, like the offensive rookie of the year is going to
be
go
a
to a skill
back
player.
Receiver. Yeah,
it's going to be like a Najee Harris, Jamar Chase, something like that.
Yeah.
But I think since we're giving it through 4 games of the season, why not give the offensive lineman some love?
Yeah, and then Jamar Chase has also been great, so he deserves mention.
Najee Harris, even on a bad Steelers team, has been at least getting the volume to put up numbers, so you could also consider him as well.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the best team so far, and that's just got to be the undefeated Cardinals by record.
Yeah, and I would say really their only other competition would be the team that they just beat with the Rams, even with having 1 loss on the season.
Yeah, the Bills.
Yeah, the Bills
also
being up there as well. Tampa being 3-1 this season. So
yeah,
but you got to go with the Cardinals, even if the Raiders win this and go to 4-0.
Yeah, the Cardinals would destroy the Raiders if they play them. Worst team, and this is a team that also has been in the news. Due to their coach, it just seems like he can't stay out of the news,
man,
Roach.
good old Urban.
And you look at the 2 teams, and that's the Jags, the worst team. And you look at the 2 coaches for both teams, and they're trending in different directions. You have a young coach with Kingsbury who is just creative on offense. It just seems to be the hot hand, and he's young. He doesn't have a lot of distractions. And then you got Urban Meyer, who...
Once again, we keep talking about it. It's probably going to be a competition between Meyer and Nagy to see who ends up getting fired or leaves their team first.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Jaguars, I think, have been the worst team through these first 4 weeks. The Texans would probably be the other team in consideration, but the Texans beat the Jaguars. Lions, another team to consider, but we said even with being 0-4, they've at least played somewhat decent football.
And the Jets maybe as well.
Yeah, but with them getting a win this past week. So the Jaguars definitely have looked the worst through the first 4 weeks.
Yeah. The best coach, I think that's going to go to Sean McVay, and I think what you really have to say for that is the fact that Stafford's really looked the part,
Yeah, I mean, McVay's, I feel like, is always a candidate for Coach of the Year. Some other guys, I mentioned Cliff Kingsbury, like we mentioned with the Cardinals being 4-0.
Yep.
Matt Rule with what he's done in his second season with the Panthers, 3-1. Sam Darnold looking good in the offense, the defense looking good this season.
Yeah.
And then even Zach Taylor, like a Bengals team that's 3-1 this season that we really didn't expect. So, all 4 of these guys like younger coaches, so it's nice to see kind of like that new age of coaches like turning around some of these.
Belichick and
teams.
Arians. Fun fact: it was the first battle of 2 coaches that were 69 and older together.
Really?
Yeah, together against each
that.
other. I think. Don't quote me on that. I did see it might have been the first battle of 2 coaches who were 69 at the same time.
Of course they found that stat,
which is nice.
Nice.
Yeah. And then the worst coach award has got to go to Matt Nagy right now.
Yeah. Every single week it's going to be like, is this a week that he gets fired?
Yeah.
I mentioned it. Urban Meyer, of course, also in contention for this.
Yeah.
But
Joe Judge was a little bit on the hot seat as well.
He may have
redeemed
saved it
himself
just for 1 week with getting the victory.
Yeah. All right, the best moment, and I think this is a really good one, is the historical Justin Tucker 66-yarder.
Yeah, I was trying to think of like honorable mentions for this, and I feel like this is just like hands down like the best moment so far in the first 4 weeks. Yeah. I remember when we watched this live, like we were watching with a couple other people, and we were just all like dumbfounded and just like couldn't believe what we just saw, like going absolutely nuts with seeing him hit the 66-yard field goal for the game winner. So
yeah, there have been some impressive catches, by Jamar Chase and that Eagles guy who had that ridiculous catch. I forgot his name. That's how.
What, Quez Watkins?
Yeah, Quez Watkins. That was a really good play.
I mean, it's a good play, but I don't think it's been like
the best moment. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then the worst moment was got to be the Bears' performance of 47 offensive yards total.
Yeah, what a great and memorable first start for Justin Fields, with having one overall net.
It's really hard to find like one singular worst moment, but I would say just overall their performance was just the worst.
Yeah, and then the only other thing that I thought of was the Giants being offsides, Dexter Lawrence being offsides on that potential game-winning field goal for the Washington football team, which Hopkins missed. But with the offside, they get another try at it, and then he hits the game winner. And just a Thursday night game where the Giants had all sorts of mistakes, and like really, it shouldn't even have been that close to a ball game. Shouldn't have come down to that.
Yeah.
But the Giants end up losing that.
And my honorable mention would be Zach Wilson's 4 interception game.
Yeah.
And getting sacked, a bunch too, in that game. So just some stinkers of moments, but I would say, Roach, overall the first 4 weeks, everything has lived up to the bill. The NFL has been entertaining. A lot of teams that have been surprising, a lot of teams that have been disappointing. So I'm just excited. It hasn't been all chalk.
Yeah, I'd say probably the biggest thing to like look forward to going into later on this season is just how they're gonna continue to deal with like these penalties, with the like unsportsmanlike conduct penalties.
Yeah.
These roughing the passer penalties. We've seen a lot of pass interference penalties as well. So just all the different flags that have been thrown so far this season. I feel like there's been a lot more compared to seasons past. So we'll see kind of if that trend kind of goes downward later on this season, or if it kind of stays as high as it's been.
Yeah, and next weekend I'm sure we'll have our typical red zone weekend. So we'll give everything we can about these games. But y'all, it's been a good show. We're gonna have Thursday night show as well. We'll be previewing Week 5. And we're going to have our first London game.
Yeah. Falcons, Jets in London this weekend. So everybody be sure to set your alarms for that 9:30 start time.
Set your lineups.
Set your lineups early as well for those for all the Falcons skill players of Cordero Patterson.
And a surprisingly good Thursday night game as well. So this could be the start of
that NFC West matchup.
Yeah, and then Week 6 we start the buys. So, a little bit less games. But that just means the games mean a little bit more,
We'll get a little more focus on each game as well, so we don't have to take up like 2 hours to cover all these teams.
That'll be nice because we'll see a little more fantasy flexibility as well with guys being on bye. But y'all, it's been great. It's been a fun show, and I think we're gonna be we'll see you guys on Thursday. But let's get the closeout, Roach.
Yeah, be sure to like this video. Of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram at the Couch Quarterbacks for all the up-to-date information, all the up-to-date standings each and every week for us. But I'm Andrew Rochford. That's Ben Steinberg. We will see you guys in our Week 5 preview.
Deuces.